Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we will be discussing building and painting and masking this piece of the Enterprise Refit, it can be a little complicated. And as you can see, we're a little further along right now than you're going to see in the video coming up. So I'll have an update on this, but I'm currently waiting for the blue layer of paneling to dry up. And then I go on to the green layer of paneling, and then we should be all done. Actually, then I have to paint the little blue stripe here on the front too. And I believe we'll be all done after that, but I'll check on all that before we continue. So without further ado, let's talk about building, masking, and painting the neck of the Enterprise Refit. Let's go. All right, and now to kind of discuss the neck and show you what I'm doing on this, just so you can see. I went ahead and I've placed two LED strips into the neck, and they're opposite of each other. So this one is toward the back of the neck, and of course this one's toward the front of the neck. That way, you know, you've got light bouncing off of this area here, and this light bounces off of this area, and I've already tested this. It gives it a really, really nice effect. So got these two LED strips there. I've also glued a 5mm LED bulb to right between, and I tested this as I was gluing it, but I kind of did it right between and right at the center, toward the center of these two holes here. That way it'll give you a really nice lighting effect coming out and shining up onto the neck. So I did that on this side, I did it on this side. I don't think I'm going to mask off the light. I'm going to let it bounce in this area to light up these windows as well. I've tested that, and no need to kind of, you know, in my case, no need to mask off this bulb. You want that white light to bounce out and come out into the windows here. And then finally, just to let you know, my method of doing this, I went ahead and decided that I wanted to light up the torpedo tubes, both of them. I know it's not canon, or you know, when you see them shooting in the movies, only one of them shoots out. But I'm lighting up both of them. So what I ended up doing is I put a really small 0805 SMD that I glued onto that. But before I did that, I drilled a little hole right there into the center of this here. I'm not sure if you can see that there, yeah. And I did that using a small little drill bit that I have here for my Dremel. This is I used the 3/64 inch drill bit to drill a little hole there, and then I just simply glued. I used the Insecure glue and the kicker to get it put on there pretty quickly, and I glued that on. And these are red LED SMDs, pardon me, 0805 SMD. They're red. They're already red. So because of that, you want to block off all the red light that's going to come out from the back. So I went ahead and used this liquid tape that I have, and I used a toothpick. I grabbed some of the liquid tape and put it all over there. And as I was doing that, I had it lit up so I could see exactly what was going on. And most of it is light blocked. I'm going to let that dry a little bit more, and then I'll do a little bit more to light block all that red out. You definitely don't want the red light shining into your windows here and disturbing the white light that shines through the windows there. And some of you may be watching this thinking, wow, that cracked effect on the inside, what is that? That triggers me. Let me tell you, it triggers me, this kind of pattern here. Unfortunately, it's there. It just happened to come out that way. I used two different paint mixtures, black to light block the inside. I used a flat black and then a gloss white over it. And the gloss white, I guess in this case, did not react very well to the flat black and cause this cracking stuff going on. Since this is on the inside, I'm not too worried about it. It's solidly there. It dried like that, and it's still gonna bounce off all the light. So I'm not very worried about what that's gonna look like on the inside. But let's put this together and kind of show you a little bit of what this looks like. Oh, by the way, painting this, the torpedo launcher here, this is a clear piece, right? It's all clear. So I went ahead and pre-painted that. I put good old Elmer's glue into the center here of these two lenses where the torpedoes are supposed to shoot out, and masked that off with Elmer's glue. And then I painted it, and the Elmer's glue, it came off perfectly. I mean, it almost looks, let me just show you this little piece here. That's the Elmer's glue piece that actually came off, and it's in the shape of the torpedo bay launcher. So yeah, it came off and it works really well. So, and when you get that, I mean, it's got a great effect. Let me just kind of show you what this is going to look like as you test it. Now I'm going to put these together gently because the torpedo bay launcher on this side is still kind of gluing together still. So let me try to take this out and put this in here. Okay, so there's going to need to be some putty work here in this area here and all that, but all right, you got this all together. Now, obviously, when I'm ready to do this and glue it all together, once it's glued together, all these wires are going to be wired together, but for now they're not all together because I still have the two halves. But let's see if I can get these to stick together before, so I can do a little test here. It's always hard to test when these wires are all loose because obviously they're not bound together, so they kind of come apart under the clamp of the tester here. So, and since I don't want to twist them all together yet, this may not work exactly as desired. Let's see what we got here. All right. Yeah, it looks like, oh yeah, one of these came out. That looks like I'm missing a light. Yeah. There you go. All right, so hope you can see this. Yep. See this light coming out. Let me turn off the spotlight here. All right. So yeah, you can see the spotlight coming out really nicely from the side there. I know that on video it really looks bright right here, but in person, when you're seeing this, it's nicely lit. You've got your torpedo launchers in a red LED. That looks good. And I'm trying to be very careful because I'm pretty sure this is going to come apart. And then, of course, you've got the lighting on this side. So it's all looking really, really well. I'm very happy with the way this is coming out. All right, so yeah, this is really looking awesome. I think this is going to come out really nice once it's all said and done. So this neck, let me turn these lights back on. So the neck piece is practically done. There's a few touch-ups that I need to do, like I said earlier, some putty work and maybe some little paint touch-ups here and there. It's practically done. I also need to install the photo etch pieces here. By the way, let me just say something about photo etch real quick. But before I go there, so a little touch-up paint and all that, and I'll glue this up, and then I'll put it onto the main assembly, which would be the main secondary hull assembly. And my plan is to paint everything and mask everything off for painting once this is glued on. And then I'll start painting the hull and the neck piece and all that with the Aztecing and all that kind of thing. So that's kind of that's where I'm going to go with this. But for now, I'm going to let the torpedo dry on one side before I glue everything back together. And the only reason I'm doing that, I'm not gluing it together, is because I want to test out the red that comes out from the inside here and make sure there's no more red leak coming out this way from both ends once it's all dry. So I'll light block it a little more, and once I'm satisfied that the inside is light blocked correctly, then I'll glue the pieces together. Okay, but let me say this about the photo etch piece, photo etch parts. If we're going to paint photo etch, it needs to be prepped. The metal, photo etch metal, acrylic paint doesn't hold on to it very well. Other kinds of paints, lacquer does, and typically your prime paints, your primers are the lacquer-based paints. So I went ahead and I spray painted white gloss lacquer onto my photo etch pieces here. So they're ready to be painted the right colors that they're going to be painted. And for example, the ring that goes around the secondary hull sensor dish, that has to be painted a particular color. I think it's like duck egg blue or something before it's installed. So I'm going to do that and then install it so that we get a crisp look on the color piece of that. But I just wanted to point that out. When you are using photo etch, make sure you prime the photo etch piece before you paint it so that your paint goes on smooth. All right, my friends, on to the next section. Okay, let's talk about painting the neck of the Enterprise using the mask design set, which is what I'm using for all the Aztec painting on the Enterprise. I like that Mask Design provides a bunch of instruction videos on YouTube, and they're very helpful. But when it comes to the neck part of it, and I may be wrong, there may be other videos out there, but the one provided by Mask Design, well, all it does is tells you how to place the masks on the neck and not how to paint. And that can be a little confusing. So I wanted to kind of help you here with what I've learned from doing it myself. Now, as you're looking at this, I've already started on the top. So what I'm doing, my approach to this is I'm doing one section at a time, all right? So the first section I started was the very, very top blue stripe at the top. And then the next section was the next layer, which is, let me show you what that looks like, kind of. There you go. So you can kind of see the progress I'm making on that, okay? Obviously, when this is fully painted and all this is taken off, this is going to look really beautiful, but I think it looks pretty cool the way it's coming out right now. Okay, now the area that I started on next was the green striped area, which, you know, some of you may be thinking, green, what are you talking about? Well, I'm going by the Trek Modeler's painting guide for the Enterprise Refit. And on that painting guide, you need to use the green, pale green type colors that are used on the strong back part of the Enterprise. So basically the colors here are the same colors that will be on this section of the Enterprise here, this what's called the strong back, all the way to this line here. So eventually I'm going to use these same colors here. Now, I prepped the colors, obviously they're right here, right next to you, from the lightest colored green to a little darker, to what I consider a little darker, and then darkest green, okay? And I'm using AK Real Colors, and I'm just simply mixing white lacquer Tamiya with the pale green from AK to do that in various degrees. I'm also using some lacquer thinner that I've put in this bottle to kind of thin out some of these before I spray paint them, and to mix them, of course. And I got to do that because there's not enough white to go around. So in this little bottle, so I'm using the lacquer thinner to kind of expand the volume of that white. Okay, but coming back to the painting part of this. And so you need to do that paint, that light colored green paint, before you put on the mask. So I was just simply looking and following Masks Design's guide without knowing or thinking through how I was going to apply the paint. So I did on both sides what you see over here. So right here, you can see the actual mask. It is placed, but there is no paint underneath. It's all white. I wish I'd painted that green, light green shaded stripe on first. Then I could simply remove all the little details and then go over it with a darker shade, okay? But I didn't do that. So now what I'm having to do is I'm having to basically remove the details and then painting those little areas dark green, and then putting them, and then removing the whole thing, putting the little details, masks back, and then painting over the area light green. That's what I did on this side, and thankfully it came out okay. But it was a little harder because you're dealing with real small little parts that you need a mask, right? And it just makes it a lot harder. If you start by putting a light green foundation on first, and then coming back, applying the mask after it dries, of course, let it dry. I would say, this is lacquer paint, please let it dry 24 hours before you put that mask on. And then removing the details and going over with the dark green, this will be a lot easier for you, okay? So, and I followed the directions on the top side here that you saw just a while ago, these little details here. And that worked out good because he did provide the directions for that in the PDF guide that comes with the Masks Design here. See, so he basically tells you for this part, these masks, it's 2 steps. And this is step 1. You put this mask on and then you remove everything but the little details. And that goes right here, right on that side. And then you paint it the light blue-gray color. And then you leave those little detailed masks on, and then you put the second mask on, and you paint those little areas a darker gray color, which will then give you the effect that you see right here, right? So he did provide those instructions, but for whatever reason, unless I'm missing it, and forgive me if I'm missing it, he didn't provide the instructions for the green stripe. And that's okay. I figured it out, and it's done. And we're going to continue. And by the way, my friends, this is a process. This is not something that's done in one day because of drying times, because of masking. It does take some time to do this whole thing. So keep that in mind. You're going to need a lot of patience as you're doing this. All right, so that's using Masks Design to paint the neck of the Enterprise. All right, my friends, let's wrap this up. So the neck of the Enterprise. Well, the Mask Design set makes it really easy, or I won't say easy, but it gives you a better view of all the paneling, allows you to make the paint adjustments you need to make it look really nice for your model kit. Now, the Mask Design set, overall, great set. It has its challenges. There are some very small little mask cutouts that are hard to manage. They're hard to pull out the little details, and then, like I said earlier, although like it comes with instructions. There's a PDF sheet. I've started printing out sheets as I use them. So there's PDFs that come with it, and for the most part, the instructions are really, they're great. But there are some sections like the neck that the instructions for all those little sections are not that great. So you really have to make sure that you think through the project before you paint it and have a lot of patience. And if I could say anything as far as advice, do one little section at a time. Don't be in a rush to paint the whole thing all together. Obviously, if this is a quick model kit build for you, then of course just paint it. I would say just use a layer of paint and move on. But for those of us who are doing the detailed design and trying to get the paneling correct, you want to have a lot of patience. Okay, so to wrap this up, thank you so much for viewing and joining my journey. And last thing I want to say is, if you're building a model and it's as complicated as this one, don't hesitate to reach out to Facebook forum groups and to other YouTube channels, and watch as many videos as you can. That is so helpful. I know it's helped me in my journey. I've asked some of my Facebook group buddies, their advice, and I've looked at other channels, and I'm getting ideas, and I'm using my own, and that's just the way this whole thing works. This is a great community to be a part of. Okay, so please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us more than you know, and we'll see you next time with the next update.